Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Garage. On this video, we're going to be tackling some burnt fiberglass repair. Alright, so like I said, we're going to be doing some fiberglass on this Western Star hood. Now, so this truck, the truck didn't burn, it was just close to something that did. So, this side of the hood got pretty cooked. So you can see it's kind of taking it right down to the fibers. So yeah, this whole side, and then just a little bit up the strips. So we're probably just going to be kind of going over to here. Now, my disclaimer on this one, it's a working truck. Guy just needs it fixed, needs to get it back to work. So, we're not going for show car kind of stuff here, but we're going to get this thing tidied up for him. So, typically, you know, the first thing you need to figure out when doing a repair like this is what kind of material you're working with. A lot of these newer semi-trucks, they have different kinds of plastic for the hoods. I tried Googling this one. I can't find exactly what this is made of. It's like some sort of a composite reinforced fiberglass. So you need to make sure you're using a product that's compatible with what you're repairing. You know, just like in the 90s, the Chevy GMC step-side boxes. We used to see it all the time in a collision shop. Guys would try to fix them themselves with fiberglass, but in that case, those boxes were made of SMC. Fiberglass didn't stick to it, or it would, but not for very long. And so, same kind of thing with this kind of stuff. As long as you know what you've got. Now the product that I use and will be using on this will be like the Everglass filler. It is compatible with this material on this hood. So, that being said, I'm going to do a little bit of tear down on it. I'm just going to get this headlight assembly out and just strip off what's left of that decal. And then we'll get to doing some sanding and kind of see what we have to work with. So there's a couple things out of the way. We'll bring you guys in for a little closer look here. So, all four bolts just snapped off in the headlight. It's kind of a design thing when everything off the front tires just piles up in the back of the headlight. So, but anyway, so I don't know how well you can see in the camera, but if you look in closer here, you can see this is all kind of cracked right down into the glass. So, I mean, structurally, we don't have any problems, but we're going to have to take all of this down, and then everything is going to need a coat of that Duraglass filler. The grill is just staying on. It would be nice to get it out of the way, but like I said, this is just a get her done job, so I'm going to grab a sander and we'll start digging in. Well, good morning. It's the next day. So I started editing this video last night and I realized that none of the repair process up to this point recorded. So what you've seen up till now is all I had on the camera. So I've got a couple of pictures that I had taken for the old Instagram. So I'm going to show you those. I'm going to just kind of try and salvage this video. So what you see here Now I have taken and stripped off all of the burnt paint right down to raw fiberglass with 40 grit sandpaper. From there, once I've got it all cleaned up, switching to the next picture. So what you see here, I have given everything a coat of Everglass filler. Now what I've done with it, I've actually added some fiberglass resin to it to make it a lot thinner, so it'll spread on a lot smoother, because we're not trying to achieve build here. We just need to seal up all of this raw fiberglass. So hopefully that's enough to kind of give you guys the gist of what's going on. Now up to this point, all of the body work has been done just with an 8-inch orbital. So mud buster, nice and flat on the big flat areas. A lot of these round areas. One of my round blocks, I've got a lot of different blocks over the years that I bought, that I made. This one is a rolled up magazine. It's my favorite. It works really well for contours, stuff like that. So you don't always need expensive stuff. And so that was all knocked off with 60 grit on the mud buster. And then I'm going over everything just with a 6-inch orbital with 100 grit. And then I'm going to finish it off, round all the edges, feather everything back, probably with some 220. And then we're going to mask it up for some primer. So I'm going to do a little more sanding. I'll bring you guys back when we're ready to mask it up and put some primer on it. Alright, she's masked up. Let's go mix up some urethane high build primer. So what I'm using here is pretty straightforward. Now I have the PPG Shopline paint system. So the primer we're going to be using is this Shopline JP355. It's just basically a urethane primer. So we're going to be using it as a urethane high build. So it's going to get 3 coats of this. So the mixture of this stuff is 4-1-2. So 4 parts primer, 1 part hardener. It calls for 2 parts of reducer. I usually put less reducer in just to, I find it's a little too thin if you reduce it 2 parts. Sometimes working with paint products in different environments, you need to adjust. For me, my big old drafty shop in wintertime is probably not as warm as a standard collision repair shop. Alright, let's go put on some primer. Now we'll wait 10-15 minutes and hit it again. So I've got 3 coats of primer on the hood here. Now it's, I've had a little bit of heat on it for a while, but it's not ready to prep yet. I'll probably start prepping at the end of the day, but leave most of it for tomorrow. I was just going to show you guys another little trick I do on these. Now you do tend to get some pinholes with fiberglass, especially the way I did it with just that fiberglass filler and then just a little bit of putty over any bad little marks that were in it. I don't know if the camera will pick them up. You can see there are a few pinholes here and there. So what I'm going to do with those while the primer is still, I mean, it's not fresh, but it's not fully cured. I'm just going to take a little bit of finishing putty and just squeeze it into those pinholes that I can see. So that's just going to save a little bit of work later. You know, when you do the prepping, you're going to blow everything off and obviously check for those kind of imperfections. But if we can get those ones now and just really cram a little bit of putty into them, once we do the prep work, those ones will be taken care of. So yeah, just another little trick, something I do, right or wrong. I'm not saying I'm the expert, so it's just something that works for me, so just figured I would share it with you guys. So here's a little better view so you can see where I had this little rash pinholes here. That was probably the edge of the filler, so this is the actual existing fiberglass. But so you can see once there's a little putty squeezed into them, you can see those pinholes a little better. So I'm going to start some of the prep work on this thing. Probably just kind of break it all open and then I'll leave it overnight and finish it in the morning. So there's the hood all prepped up, blown down, and I've given it a quick wash with some wax and grease remover, just to do a really good final check for any pinholes or anything that could be in it. But everything looks good. So I sanded this with 240 grit, did a few little putty spots, sanded again with 320 grit, and then for the final sanding, 400 grit, and now it's ready for paint. So, what we're doing here, we're just going to do like a soft flip edge. We're only painting one side of the hood. Bring you in a little closer. So you can see where the little imperfections were, where I filled them. So that's all basic. Something I like to do is something I kind of showed on the video, that what it was the part that I'd lost on the camera, I guess. But there are lots of guide coat products for doing your prepping. Stuff you can spray or wipe on top of your primer that's going to show your highs and lows. I always just dribble a little black paint into my final coat. So you see my last coat is a darker primer, so that any highs and lows kind of show up that way. I find that works really well for me. So something like this, there isn't a lot of block sanding. We're not going for perfection with this type of job. You know, at the end of the day, this is a piece of equipment. This is somebody's livelihood. It just needs to get done. That might sound like a cop-out to not do your best work, but that's not the case at all. It's still a really good repair. It's still going to look good. And that was the customer's words too. He says, it's not going in a car show, it just needs to get done. You know, if there's some imperfections, it doesn't matter. It's a piece of equipment. But I still do, you know, the best work that I can do. Obviously, we want everything to look good, especially customer repairs. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Pretty straightforward, I think. It was pretty much all prepped with an orbital sander. You know, not a lot of blocking other than, you know, these round areas that I use the round block to get them into shape. So, next time you see it, I'm going to have this masked up and we'll be putting some paint on here. Alright, so we are ready to paint. So it turns out that I was not even able to mix this color with my paint system. There was no formula for it. It had to be mixed in a fleet paint system, being a heavy truck color, I guess. But so there it is. So raspberry wine, Western Star color. So this stuff, so this is the Dell Fleet. This is the fleet paint stuff, and this is pretty simple, 6 to 1 to 1. It's a single stage direct gloss, so we'll mix up some paint, 2 maybe 3 coats, and she'll be good to go. So it's the next day. Here's our painted hood. So everything looks good. I'm quite happy with it. So as always, thanks for following along. And if you enjoy these videos, if they're helpful to you at all, let me know in the comments. And as always, do me a favor, hit the subscribe and the like if you can. It gives me a little motivation to keep these videos coming. I mean, I don't get anything out of them. I don't make any money off YouTube or anything. But yeah, just as long as I know people like them, I'll keep them coming. So, as always guys, thanks for watching. I hope you come back for the next one.